Okay, so I've proven group stalking beyond any doubt. Beyond any doubt. The only argument they can make still proves my point, regardless how you slice it. If one was to say, well, there's people who have come together because they think you're crazy and they're trying to feed into your misconceptions, well, that's a form of group stalking. In order for them to feed into my misconceptions, they need to study me and discuss my life and my videos, and then plan accordingly. So they're basically cyber stalking me on record. Even if you believe mental health's argument and law enforcement who are part of this, argument, their cover-up argument, they're stalking me on record and trying to sabotage my life, trying to get me to go crazy, so to speak, so mental health can misdiagnose me and downplay their contribution. Which, regardless how you slice it, whether you believe me or them or the opposition view, there are people who have come together to sabotage me and persecute me for my political views. There are overweight women and gays who have catfished me and who have tried to weasel their way in and to pretend that they're on my side in order to try to, talk freaky with me or possibly cultivate a relationship. It proves my point about all the spiritual bottom feeders, regardless how you slice it. What kind of a person sinks to that level? Not a real Christian, not a real Muslim, not a real Jew. Spiritual bottom feeders sink to that level. And at the end of this, I will show you a quick clip of some of the gang stalking. Two people who use the N-word within 5 minutes of each other. A coordinated effort to say, hey, we are against you. And another rather lengthy comment. I don't know if I'm going to put that one or not. And I've shown you time and time again that they have been doing this for a long time. This is not just something they've done for a little while. So there's a group of people and their extended network. They're part of online forums and chat rooms and online groups and political groups and so on, who are, quote unquote, trying to feed into my delusions, which of course I've proven beyond any doubt aren't delusions, but actually what is going on in reality. So let us look at it from someone who has no idea what to think, their point of view. Worst case scenario, I'm right about, me, from their point of view, that I'm right about everything. Best case scenario, that I'm mistaken and these people are feeding into my misconceptions. Well, since when is somebody being tricked symptoms of a mental disorder? It's not. It's not. If I was to shake your tent at night and you thought that maybe there was a wild animal out to get you and I started making noises, would that be because you have a mental disorder or because people are trying to trick you? And if then mental health was to pretend it's because you have a mental disorder and drug you based on that misconception, on that misperception, then wouldn't it not prove my point beyond any doubt? So I am completely disgusted at how, no matter how you slice it, I have proven my point beyond any doubt. Yet we have overt racists pretending that's not the case. How could they possibly run with it at this point? Just today there was a hose that was left on because there's people staying in my house because of the holidays, and we have water issues out here. And so it made me think, what should a gang stalking victim, what should a targeted individual do in my shoes? Well, he should just point out the little things. And don't come at your parents right away or whoever you live with, your significant others or whatever. Don't say that these people are doing this to me. Point out what's going on, one point at a time. The mailman messed up my mail. This is going on, this is going on, this is going on. In my case, that we had a worker here who was doing these things on purpose, so they're quite familiar with it, and they might be inclined to blame that guy when really, when you truly look at what happened with that guy, it was a group of white racists doing it. The Santa Clara County Sheriff Department had taken his side on record. Oh, this is on record. You can ask my parents about it. On record, reported and filed on record. There was this trailer we were allowing him to stay in for a couple years, and you know, you had to live somewhere 5 years to even be a resident. He wasn't here 5 years. Make a long story short, he tried to leave with the trailer. The Santa Clara County Sheriff's white sheriffs. He's a white guy from the South. His employer is a white guy named George at the time, who had a Confederate flag on his pickup truck. They said, we will not try to stop him. My dad is like, well, I have the paperwork right here. They said, we're not going to stop him. So the Santa Clara County Sheriff, on record, broke the law in favor of a white person, white social norms. On record, they quote-unquote messed up the eviction paperwork, or whatever it's called. They gave him a certain amount of time to leave, on record. Hey, so these people overtly favor white social norms, and they quote-unquote make mistakes in favor of white racists over black brain surgeons, on record. So of course these people are completely negligent. Lori Smith has failed utterly to keep her department in line. Her department is full of white racists and people who have compromised their integrity and lack fidelity, lack even a basic amount of moral clarity, and they have treated me unfairly, unjustly, and in a very wicked manner, very selfish manner. Not the sort of characteristics we should look for in police officers now, are they? So then there's one more thing I want to address in this video. Why haven't I confided in my family? Well, I actually have in the past, in about 2012, I believe it was, at University of Phoenix when they were gang stalking me there. It was painfully obvious. People from the mental health facilities came to my campus to stare at me hard. That's why if you go back to my Ron Paul or Die interview, in my gang stalking interview playlist, I tell them, you know, it's the people at mental health doing it. Because when it first started, it was. And then gradually the Santa Clara County Sheriff Department joined in. I mean, this is very typical of white racists. I live in a small white town where some people ride cowboy horses on the, horses on the street. Some cowboy type motherfuckers ride horses on the street in the back roads. And every once in a while you'll see them in town as well. Okay? These people believe in traditionalism. They're traditionalists. They believe in upholding white social norms. They believe in conserving white social norms. And mixed in are a bunch of white liberals who have been influenced by white racist perspectives, except for they just happen to be gay. They're racist white people who happen to be gay. They're racist white people who happen to be feminists. So for me, with politics, it is painfully obvious that we are looking at vested interests. People who have invested in clean energy, for example, are Democrats, not because they like minorities, because they want to bankrupt the coal industry so they get all their money. And vice versa. The coal industry and them, you know, and people who make GMOs and so on and so forth are Republicans, not because, you know, they're Christians per se, because they are up against these clean energy people and these people complaining about GMOs. Okay? Psychiatry overlaps. You have big pharma Republicans, you have liberals in mental health. That's why there's a feminist perspective of psychology. I've gone over all these things before many times. Now, one of the things that I will never truly get over is that if I do not say it like this, people do not take me seriously. And time again, I've compared it to a rape victim. You know, if a rape victim is hysterical, do we just say, you know what, you need mental health, we're not going to listen to what you say? Or do we listen to what they say? What is the proper way to treat it? So then why, when a black man who has very good reason to be upset, okay, this is a system of white racism. This is white supremacy, institutional white supremacy, if you will, systematic white supremacy. Just because the individual white people who are doing this are not yelling white power does not mean that they aren't behaving in a racist manner by default, by upholding institutional white supremacy, systematic white supremacy. So I think it's very sick. And the way you'll hear liberals talking about these things, but they will leave out mental health. They'll even use terms like institutional racism, as if the most profitable institutions in sector, and industry, magically isn't racist when they're owned by white supremacists and whitewashed Jews, white Jews. Magically, they're not racist. That's what they would have you believe. How sick is that? How disturbing is that? How disingenuous is that? I'm tired of you little whiners and your vested interests. We'll help you if you help our democratic movement. Trying to send fat women my way, hoping that I become a Democrat and start crying, don't fat shame, trying to make me feminist and gay friendly. No. You are part of the white supremacy. You are the controlled opposition specifically against the rich class and big business. And if people pay attention, you are openly against black people because abortion is the leading cause of death in the black community. So why then? Why then? When no matter how you slice it, I'm correct. Are there still people clinging to, oh, well, he's just delusional. He needs his meds. Why? Note also, they're very petty. They've referred to me as a pseudo martial artist. There's a difference between me putting money on the line to saying whoever can fucking beat me, you gets the money, and you not being able to prove anything with psychiatry and killing 500,000 people a year. Yours is a deadly pseudoscience. Mine is proven on record. When it comes to claims, that is. And then, of course, there will be people who will try to throw that in. There will be martial artists and people in mental health who want white martial artists, such as Jean-Claude Van Damme and that Atkins guy and different white martial artists we see on TV, and the Asians who want their Jet Li and Jackie Chan and Donnie Yen and so on, even though I've already demonstrated that I'm more skilled than they are. I'm quicker than they are. I'm faster than they are. I can leverage my skills, my body type, my dexterity to defeat them. And martial arts isn't about crying about who's bigger and stronger, who's more flexible, who's this, that, and the other. It's about application and being able to use it. You use different martial arts for your different body type. You find what works for you. You don't cry about what the next man has, and 1 in 5 people in America are above 6 feet. 1 in 5 adult males, that is. So I've heard a whole lot of bitch shit. And for my family, you wonder why I do not confide in you. Because you are unreasonable, just like the Democratic Party, just like big women who expect me to speak of them favorably when all they have ever done is side with the New World Order. Just like women in general who expect me to speak about them favorably when all I see is controlled opposition and perps pretending to be TIs, pretending to be on my side. And I'm supposed to speak about you favorably when you have betrayed me all my life, and all I can see as far as the eye can see on YouTube and off is you siding with the New World Order, upholding white social norms that kill blacks all the time, 6 million annually communicable diseases in Africa, sub-Saharan Africa, annually. All I see is all the groups I talk about, killing black people directly and indirectly, and by doing what they do. And I see it every day up close. I see them harass me in person. I see them troll me on the internet. I see them as police officers, gang members. I see them as the enemy every day because that is what they are. The nerve of you people to question my judgment while you contribute to the mass murder of sub-Saharan Africans, black people, all mankind, and you are completely out of touch. You do not have a shred of morality. and I have much. Okay, so these people will do little bitch shit to try to confuse you about who they are. They'll have like little Russian names. It's a version of psychology. Either they really are Russian and they'll assume that I'll assume that they're not Russian pretending to be, or they aren't Russian and and they're just playing reverse psychology, reverse psychology, whatever you want to call it, so on and so forth. Okay, and you look at the words they use: maggot, and this is on an old video that got about 1,500 views. Okay, the first thing he said, he graduated top of his class in the Navy SEALs. He goes on to say, but I have access to the entire arsenal of the United States Marine Corps, and I will use it to its full extent to wipe your miserable ass off the face of the continent, you little shit. Okay, so these people are threatening me, hoping that I get angry in my videos and start threatening them. Notice nobody's going to take them to the psych ward for this. Okay, you're fucking dead, kiddo, is how it ends, right? No one's going to take them to the psych ward for this. If I say the same thing the way they did it on my videos, they will come for me within a couple days. The fuck do you call that? White supremacy, upholding white social norms. Now here is a recent video. You can tell by when this was released, right? I released that Templar video, I think it was like this is on Christmas Eve. Today is the 28th, okay? So you can tell it's a recent video, okay? This is 3 days ago when this, in this picture, right? So that this is yesterday, okay? Right now, there are no programs running. It's cold in my room, it's the morning time. And that noise you hear is the fan. They are cyber attacking me. There's a lot of gays and feminists, and feminists starting to emerge in the tech industry. Okay. So, 2 quick points. I'll wrap up this video. I want to keep it all together less than 20 minutes, 3 clips, okay? 1, when you do your own research into the New World Order and you make videos about it with your own research, it is different than if you are repeating ideas you have heard from controlled opposition who are speaking on the New World Order. Sorry I was cut short. Now this is about 30 seconds later. You don't hear the fan going. My computer's still on. Yes, when IT guy says that, well, it's probably a couple of minutes later actually, when IT guy says that yes, I'm being cyber attacked, I'm being cyber attacked. Okay, these people have gone way out of their way to persecute me. Going back to the point I just made, there's a difference between making your own videos, making a lot of videos, and the subject matter being your own research. No one controls you. No ridiculous assumptions, valid sources. You're not just saying, look at this symbol and how it relates to this. You're saying, look at the whole history of this group and the symbol. Combine that with the symbol. Then look at this symbol and the history of this group, their behavior, what they believe, to truly break it down scientifically. There's a huge difference. You don't see too many conspiracy theorists doing that. A, because they're controlled and they want to come off, they want people to say, so what? The symbols look alike. That doesn't prove anything. And to, turn a blind eye or to, write it off as conspiracy theory nonsense. Now, this point is more important than any point, perhaps. Listen very carefully. I will speak extra slow. When you are talking about gay people and you're being critical of them, let's say you live in San Francisco and you're a radio host, gay people might throw eggs at you. They might yell at you in public, catcall you. They might flatten your tires. They might spit on you. They might confront you in groups, and so on. Is that not exactly what you would expect? I'm going to make a few ridiculous examples that are painfully obvious so you understand my point completely. When you are critical of the police and you start getting extra tickets, Are you going to be surprised? When you wear red in a Crip or Serrano neighborhood and you start yelling obscenities and gang slogans, when the people that you are insulting confront you in the manner that you would expect them to, would you be surprised? Now imagine if you were speaking about psychiatry and mental health when there is military psychiatry, military psychology, law enforcement classes on psychiatry, law enforcement classes on psychology, the good cop, bad cop, how to get a confession, how to catch your suspect slipping or catch him in a lie, how to get people to cooperate, and so on. Okay? When you are talking about psychiatry and mental health, would you not expect psychologists to play mind games on you? Because that is how they lash out. Get it out of your head if you think psychologists are a bunch of rich people with nice offices. Some of them are, especially if they work for the government or the military. Some of them are fresh out of college. 13% of people who graduate college end up homeless. Some of them are psychologists. 1 in 5 go hungry at some point during the month because of a lack of funds specifically. So there are disgruntled psychologists. There are system-related psychologists, military psychologists. There are racist psychologists. There are different schools of thought in psychology. Okay? There are people who are everything on the list. You know, they're criminals. They're affiliated with the worst criminals, big pharma, white-collar crime. They are atheistic Satanists. They're racist eugenicists. They're feminists. They're bisexual. And what am I missing here? No, that was it. That was it. Yeah. You know, they're everything crossed out on my wall. And they're a psychologist. And I'm talking about their profession. So if you think for 1 second, it is insane. It must be a delusion. If you jump to the conclusion that I must be delusional for saying that psychologists are fucking with my head after I have been talking about them for 4 or 5 years in hundreds of videos, and they are well aware of that, then aren't you suffering from some form of psychosis? Aren't you out of touch with reality? Aren't you in some dramatic form of denial? Need I go over it again? Okay, well, go over it again. If you are talking about black people in Oakland, do you not expect black people, you know, and you live in Oakland, would it surprise you? Would you assume that you're delusional if black people start staring at you and giving you a hard time? Would you assume that it's a coincidence? Or would the logical, perceptive point of view be that they know what you're doing and they don't approve? Now, when you live 45 minutes away from the home of MKUltra, 45 minutes away from the home of COINTELPRO, when you live within shouting distance, damn near, of universities, San Jose State, University of Phoenix, and so on, and they have a psychology department, it is extremely tragic if you think that they're not running a psych op on me. I'm talking bad about law enforcement, the military, the government, mental health, gays, all these things. They're crossed out on my wall. This right here is mental health, mental illnesses, you know, labeled mental illnesses that they don't really understand, that they label people with, crossed out. Evil men are in control. Haven't you noticed? Look at these things that are crossed out on my wall. Whether I talk about them in my videos or not, they're in my videos, every single one, except for the ones that I'm in a different room. Come on. Are you people really that naive that you believe the government and that they would never in their wildest dreams, persecute me? Do you think psychologists are such great people that they would never, in their wildest dreams, apply their knowledge of psychology against me? You think every other group of people has groups, gay rights groups, minority groups, gang groups, big business groups, the business roundtable, everything you can imagine has groups, especially on the internet, but psychologists don't? You think they have that movement where they have that little tattoo that says we're trying to remove the stigma of mental health, and that doesn't imply huge movements that are major parts of political movements coming together to achieve a goal that is in their common interest? Do you really think that every other group persecutes people when they are insulted or tested or challenged by them, except for psychologists? If I haven't convinced you now, I don't know what to tell you. You're an idiot. You're a dumbass. If you don't see it my way, you're a fucking idiot. I'm sorry, but you're a dumbass. Find your mom, slap her. If you do believe me, I'm not going to tell you what should be done to psychologists when you see it. All I can speculate to say is what I would do. And what would I do? Well, I'm not going to say it. When we see people wanting to jump off a bridge or something, I mean, this should make it painfully obvious to you. It is almost always because of substance abuse or something that's happened. They lost their job, they lost their wife, whatever the case is. So what makes you people think that magically it is any different when you're dealing with abnormal behavior? It's almost always substance abuse or environmental factors, Now, those of you crying about, where'd you get your statistics? This is where I got my statistics, okay? My statistic about college.
Show that.
Okay, RT, lack of college funds. U.S. students can't pay off debts, price rocketing. Okay, let me try to find the point where they show you the statistics, because I want to make this a quick clip. I'm going to have to break this in two parts as it is. This is part 2. This should be at the end of part 2. Where the hell is it? Here we go.
Study done in 7 states, including New York, Pennsylvania, and California, surveying over 4,300 students, revealed that 1 in 5 had gone hungry in the last month.
Now, remember when I said environmental factors includes nutrition? How can they discount this? Also, I didn't even think of this when I first was going. I was just going to show you my statistics. How are they going to discount hunger as a factor in abnormal behavior when 1 in 5 college students went hungry within a month of graduating? 13% homeless, and the majority, I guess the majority was employed. Okay, so anyway, what does that tell you? Well, most of the employment is what they're not saying is that they're not employed in jobs that they're looking for. They're employed at like fucking Safeway and McDonald's and shit, But anyway, what does it show you? I mean, the proof is in the pudding. It's all around you. Everywhere you look, you see people acting abnormally because something is wrong. We used to ask them, what's wrong? Now we just drug them. We used to take substance abuse seriously. At least I think we did. At least I hope we did. Now we just assume that they're mentally ill. We used to know when we see somebody acting abnormal, some homeless guy acting abnormal in the streets, 9 times out of 10, they're a crackhead or a meth head or a drunk. Now we assume they're mentally ill, but we don't give them any help. No. But when a political activist is angry, has righteous indignation, we assume he's mentally ill. Isn't that sick? Isn't it sick how we target political activists, people with substance abuse problems? Why don't we have an industry to help people with substance abuse that is the most profitable? Why is the pharmaceutical industry, specifically psych meds and painkillers, the most profitable industry? We do not help people in the West. We profit off of them. And it's in your face, blatantly in your face. It's overt. It's not hidden in the slightest. It's not surreptitious. It is fucking ubiquitous. Disorder, or because people are trying to trick you. And if then mental health was to pretend it's because you have a mental disorder and drug you based on that misconception, on that misperception, then wouldn't it not prove my point beyond any doubt? So I am completely disgusted at how, no matter how you slice it, I have proven my point beyond any doubt. Yet we have overt racists pretending that's not the case. How could they possibly run with it at this point? Just today, there was a hose that was left on because there's people staying in my house because of the holidays, and we have water issues out here. And so it made me think, what should a gang stalking victim, what should a targeted individual? Okay, so I've proven group stalking beyond any doubt. Beyond any doubt. The only argument they can make still proves my point, regardless how you slice it. If one was to say, well, there's people who have come together because they think you're crazy and they're trying to feed into your misconceptions, well, that's a form of group stalking. In order for them to feed into my misconceptions, they need to study me and discuss my life and my videos, and then plan accordingly. So they're basically cyber stalking me on record. Even if you believe mental health argument and law enforcement who are part of this, argument, their cover-up argument, they're stalking me on record and trying to sabotage, but actually what is going on in reality. So let us look at it from someone who has no idea what to think, their point of view. Worst case scenario, I'm right about, me, from their point of view, that I'm right about everything. Best case scenario, that I'm mistaken and these people are feeding into my misconceptions. Well, since when is somebody being tricked symptoms of a mental disorder? It's not. It's not. If I was to shake your tent at night and you thought that maybe there was a wild animal out to get you and I started making noises, would that be because you have a mental disorder? Real Jew. Spiritual bottom feeders sink to that level. And at the end of this, I will show you a quick clip of some of the gang stalking. Two people who use the N-word within 5 minutes of each other. A coordinated effort to say, hey, we are against you. And another rather lengthy comment. I don't know if I'm going to put that one or not. And I've shown you time and time again that they have been doing this for a long time. This is not just something they've done for a little while. So there's a group of people and their extended network. They're part of online forums and chat rooms and online groups and political groups and so on, who are, quote unquote, trying to feed into my delusions, which of course I've proven beyond any doubt aren't delusions. Sabotage my life, trying to get me to go crazy, so to speak, so mental health can misdiagnose me and downplay their contribution. Which, regardless how you slice it, whether you believe me or them, or the opposition view, there are people who have come together to sabotage me and persecute me for my political views. There are overweight women and gays who have catfished me and who have tried to weasel their way in and to pretend that they're on my side in order to try to, talk freaky with me or possibly cultivate a relationship. It proved my point about all the spiritual bottom feeders, regardless how you slice it. What kind of a person sinks to that level? Not a real Christian, not a real Muslim, not a